Visual novel fans who follow translations should be excited for the releases coming up in 2025. Initially, I was concerned about whether I would even have 10 to look forward to, but upon closer inspection, I discovered a surprisingly high number of promising titles likely to get their full English translation by then. I've identified over 10 visual novels that are either confirmed for or have a high likelihood of receiving English translations by the end of 2025. Keep in mind that while some release dates or windows are confirmed, others are based on my educated guesses, as the visual novel translations seem to be unpredictable. However, based on recent updates from both official and fan translation sources, I believe most of these titles are safe to discuss and predict. First off, we have Geminism, a visual novel developed by Kraftwerk, merits attention for several intriguing reasons. While the company is best known for the Denpa classic Sayonara wo Oshiete, this title departs from their previous title, opting for a more linear comedy action format. The game's black comedy tag on VNDB is particularly compelling to me. Similar to works like Danganronpa, it promises humor that makes light of serious or taboo subjects. The premise involves two mysterious men overseeing a conflict between twin sisters in a midnight city setting, which adds an intriguing narrative layer. The primary draw for me is how Kraftwerk will balance comedy with potentially controversial subject matter. However, potential drawbacks include the linear 13-hour runtime and potential pacing concerns. Despite these reservations I have, the unique black comedy narrative approach makes Geminism worth me at least potentially giving a try. Hardcore Ubisoft fans have endured a long wait due to numerous delays, Steam bans, and some recent Nekonian incompetence. However, the Ubisoft fans' patience should be rewarded soon. Nekonian has finally decided to soon release the English translation of Ubisoft's newest title, Angelic Chaos Reboot, through various non-Steam platforms, reportedly in early 2025. While I may not be among the biggest Ubisoft sims, as I dislike their inconsistent humor, I can't deny the studio's strengths. The visual novels are renowned for exceptional presentation, a significant factor in their popularity. Despite my reservations about varying heroine and route quality, Ubisoft consistently manages to include at least one heroine I like in each title. In Reboot, I'm particularly interested in Kurumi, a gyaru who also seems to be into gaming. I'm also curious about Noah, as she's the title heroine. Many fans are apparently excited for Amane, the gremlin little sister character, but she doesn't particularly appeal to me. I generally find little sister heroines less interesting in general, and the gremlin personality type often comes across as more irritating than endearing to me. However, this is purely a matter of personal taste, and I'm sure many players will find her route enjoyable. Next up, we have Sen no Hato Tsukisome no Koki, or what most people are going to call it, Senmomo. This is a visual novel developed by August, the creators of Aiku no Yustiya and Daido Shokan no Hitsujikai. While I wasn't super into Daido Shokan, I definitely liked Yustiya, and Senmomo seems to be closer to Yustiya in that it'll be a fantasy setting, plot-heavy visual novel with a ladder route structure, one of my personal favorite route structures for a plot-heavy VN. While I'm not super into the main guy having amnesia, and pure high fantasy settings aren't my go-to, I like Yustiya's writing and pacing enough to at least be fairly interested. On a side note, the VNDB admins accused this fan translation of being machine translated simply because the translator was very transparent about how quickly he translated the title while blogging about it. As someone who's been able to preview the translation, from what I see, it is definitely 100% not machine translated and reads very well. Next, we have Harumade Kururu, developed by Sumiko Soft, which has been a long-standing translation project for Sekai Project, big surprise. In August 2024, following Amelia Dori's retrospective video, Sekai Project confirmed the visual novel had entered the QA phase, suggesting its release might finally be approaching. The story centers on a protagonist and 5 heroines stranded in a remote area, isolated from the outside world. In response to their situation, one of the main girls proposes an unconventional solution. The protagonist should form a harem romance or polycule with all of them. Despite my general disinterest in polyamorous relationships in fiction, Harumade Kururu has captured my attention for a specific reason. Beneath its seemingly light-hearted polyamory premise, the visual novel reportedly explores surprisingly deep and dramatic themes. It's this promise of emotional complexity and character development that truly appeals to me. In late 2024, Shinzo Translations announced their next fan translation project, Sousaku Kanojo no Renai Koshiki, developed by Inolinks. This visual novel has captured my attention due to its unique premise. It's one of the few titles I can think of that features characters that have developed or are developing a visual novel within the story itself. As a QC tester for the trial version, I've gained deeper insight into the story. While some Nukige titles have used the visual novel creator concept as a mere pretext for erotic content, Sousaku Kanojo appears to take a more serious and nuanced approach. At its core, the visual novel is a coming-of-age story with strong character development. It explores the struggles of creators in general trying to establish themselves in the competitive world of media creation jobs, including novel writing and voice acting, offering rich drama and insight into the creative process. The main character begins the game in a writing slump due to an unknown trauma that causes nausea when he attempts to write. An intriguing dynamic emerges with the different main heroines, creating interesting narrative tension. His relationship with his childhood friend is particularly noteworthy to me. Unlike typical visual novel childhood friends, their past is rooted in friendly rivalry, and their present-day interactions is refreshingly mature, with both supporting each other's careers. While I've heard mixed reviews about the execution, particularly in some heroine routes, I remained intrigued by the story's potential. Even if the drama later on doesn't fully resonate with me, I liked the drama shown in the translated trial portion, and the unique concept and relative maturity suggest it'll be a worthwhile experience by the end either way for me. Nekonyan recently unveiled a Steam page for Kami-sama no Yo no Kimie, officially localized as Hacking the Moon to Find My Goddess, developed by Cube. This release is exciting for me primarily because it marks the first Cube title to receive an actual proper translation. For reference, I'm referring to Cube's previous English release, Your Diary Plus on Steam, which suffered from a poorly edited machine translation that frustrated fans. Hacking the Moon to Find My Goddess offers an enticing sci-fi setting centering on a protagonist skilled in hacking with themes exploring artificial intelligence. The premise suggests a potentially thought-provoking narrative that could delve into contemporary technological issues. Given Cube's track record, the visual novel will likely incorporate slice-of-life elements alongside its sci-fi backdrop. However, I'm hopeful the story will include meaningful drama and character development that adds depth to the narrative. The translation will be of the extended edition, which adds new scenes for every heroine, including H scenes. Kara no Shoujo 3, the final episode, which will be localized as The Shell Part 3, has long been anticipated by fans. Shirobune's and Lemniska's swift release of the HD remasters for the first two games suggests a potential mid-2025 launch for the trilogy's conclusion. The excitement has been building since Manga Gamer released Kara no Shoujo the second episode long ago. Innocent Grace's fanbase eagerly awaits what promises to be a mind-blowing conclusion to the series. As a mystery visual novel enthusiast, I found the first Kara no Shoujo intriguing if somewhat flawed. Its gritty atmosphere resonated with me. While I'm still working through the second game, I appreciate the writing's direction, even if I see it as a spin-off, as the mystery is brand new to the series. If Kara no Shoujo 3 lives up to the hype though, it could easily become one of my top favorite visual novels in the mystery genre. The series' grounded approach to its gripping narrative has always been a strong suit for me, and I'm excited to see how they wrap things up. Developed by Sonora and localized by Nekonyan, Ready or Not, The Deadline is Coming, originally called Uchi wa mo Enki Denkinai in Japanese, offers a fresh take on the rare visual novel about creating visual novels premise. Unlike Sousaku Kanojo's grounded, character-driven melodrama, Ready or Not appears to be a grounded, slice-of-life moege experience centered around visual novel development. The game's unique premise seems to revolve around an eroge company navigating the challenges of releasing a visual novel in Japan, promising a relatively realistic portrayal of the development process, showing things like art creation, scenario writing, and voice acting, all with little to no big drama. The focus on adult-age heroines in a professional setting sets it apart from typical high school-centric stories. While the concept of an eroge company staffed by almost all attractive adult-aged women is obviously a male-targeted fantasy, it adds to the game's charm and appeal. The down-to-earth exploration of visual novel creation seems to be reminiscent of how Nikki Seiyu by Sonora's sister company Mint Cube explored the voice acting industry. This supposed technical focus is why I'm personally interested in the behind-the-scenes aspects of visual novel development. Next up on this list is Nekonyan's translation of the upcoming ASA project title Futamata Renai 2 Times the Trouble, which has been one of my most anticipated titles for a while. This visual novel distinguishes itself from other ASA project titles with a cast of university-age heroines, a rarity that sets apart from typical high school settings in the medium. The game's premise revolves around two female leads simultaneously pursuing the protagonist, creating potential for hilarious shenanigans and complications. With the main character juggling two girlfriends, I hope to see the hilarity of watching his web of lies grow more tangled by the day. The university setting hopefully allows for a mix of the typical hilarious comedy from ASA Project, yet more mature themes and situations as we finally have characters that are actually above 18 years old. I'm hoping Futamata combats my personal disappointment by Smee's Sugar style, which, despite featuring a university-age cast as well, fell short in its comedic execution and had boring heroines. I also expect Futamata Renai to deliver ASA Project's signature comedic over-the-top style, known for its sharp, witty dialogue and clever exploitation of unique romantic premises for comedy, similar to their other titles like Sankaku Renai and Koikari Love for Hire. An interesting side note is that Futamata Renai apparently confirms who the true heroine of ASA Project's Renai X Royale was, adding a minor fun connection between their games. The first two installments of the Criminal Border series have already earned a spot among my all-time favorite visual novels, even though only half the story's been translated so far. Naturally, the upcoming sequels, Third Offence, which is guaranteed for 2025, and hopefully also the final episode, Life Sentence, are high on my list of my most anticipated visual novel translations by Shirobune. I already consider Purplesoft an often overlooked developer, and I consider Criminal Border even within Purplesoft's catalog to be even more underrated. The pacing of these visual novels is a lot better than most story-heavy visual novel titles in the genre. The series begins with a unique premise: the protagonist, Itsuki, accidentally creating a digital drug that induces intense arousal, a concept that fits perfectly within the eroge genre. It sets the stage for a captivating narrative filled with rapid-fire events surrounding this digital drug, Itsuki's significant character growth, and a web of intriguing relationships, both friendly and antagonistic. While the characters may not be individually groundbreaking, the engaging story and well-crafted mini-arcs in the first two Criminal Borders more than compensate for this. My anticipation for the third installment, Third Offence, is extremely high. As said earlier, it's currently the only title that is 100% confirmed for a 2025 release according to Steam, and promises to continue the series' craziness, potentially elevating Criminal Border even higher in my personal rankings. These next visual novels are the only ones on this list where I'd previously read their already available English translations. However, they are very special cases. Never7 and Ever17 are getting remasters on modern platforms and are two of the most standout sci-fi mystery visual novels I read way back when I was a super beginner in the visual novel medium. Ever17 specifically was one of the reasons why the mystery genre has become one of my favorites in the visual novel medium. Mages may have hinted that these titles would be coming out, but I was not expecting them to arrive so soon, especially with a confirmed release date in March 2025. While I am interested in rereading Never7, I mostly had mixed feelings about it, though I remember really liking the Kudere Haruka for having a healthy version of a Rei Ayanami-style character gaining humanity and development. As for the Ever17 remaster, I'm more interested in rereading it for a very different reason. Apparently, this upcoming release will have the script and scenarios based on the previously Japanese-only Xbox 360 version, which added a lot of controversial new scenes and rewrote some stuff to have more overt foreshadowing. While I've read a change list on GameFAQs before, I've always wanted to see if these changes really are as bad as people say. I mean, it certainly wouldn't be the first time I've had a hot take, and this is one of those titles I've been meaning to reread. Now I'll have the ability to do so through much easier to access hardware and with updated scripts, and hopefully a translation that's much better than the really rough one from back in the day. Given the success of Nukatashi 1 and 2 by developer Krupo, I'm not surprised to see that Shirobune has recently announced the eventual release of Hentai Prison, also by the same developer. This title is even more widely well received in Japan even compared to Nuki 1 and 2. While Nuki 1 and 2 have a goofy, over-the-top pseudo-parody of a potential sex island dystopia utopia, Hentai Prison appears to be a more serious prison break visual novel story. Although I've heard that Hentai Prison is less comedy-focused than Nukatashi, that does not diminish my interest. Looking at the tags on VNDB, I see many unique elements I've been looking forward to in a modern visual novel, such as battle of wits, comedic sex scenes, multiple route mystery, and even some rarely seen tags nowadays like a nun support character. I also can't think of any other visual novel story that's purely about a prison break, and I imagine there's going to be a lot of world building similar to Nukatashi. The main protagonist, Shuichiro, is reportedly a quirky weirdo who can talk to his penis. He was infamous among law enforcement in-game as the Flasher, absolutely loathing the idea of clothing and considering being stark naked second nature. While my gut feeling tells me I probably won't like it as much as Nukatashi, especially since it's 60 hours as opposed to Nukatashi's 40 hours each, meaning there could be a chance of slower pacing issues, I have a feeling I'll be very entertained regardless. Finally, as a long-standing Majikoi fan for over a decade, the final canon fan disc of the A series tops my list of most anticipated titles. My enthusiasm has even led to me getting recruited by Daybreak Translations, where I'll be one of the few doing QA testing once the translation, editing, and engine work is complete. While A+ disc might seem like a minor addition, it's basically Majikoi A6. It features 3 new routes, one for Aki, who was introduced in Yoshitsune's A5 route, Thelma, introduced as one of the hounds and markets after an A5, and a dedicated route for Wu Song, who was first properly introduced in Lin Chong's A4 route. It also includes a few one-off H scenes, including another one for fan favorite Benkei. However, my most anticipated part of A+ is the Robot Infinity War route. This unlockable large-scale conflict scenario pits the entire Majikoi cast against killer robots. It appears to promise action, potentially surpassing Majikoi S's Koyuki route in the original's Kawakami War, potentially delivering an epic all-hands-on-deck finale. The currently translated Hound After Fandisc provides some foreshadowing for this route. On a personal level, the token English character Toriko finally gets a very small addition, an unlockable H scene stemming from a what-if moment in Takai's A5 route. while it's going to be very short and obviously not a full route, it's going to be a welcome addition for her very few fans, or probably just me. And that wraps up my list of over 10 visual novel translations I'm anticipating for 2025. I was pleasantly surprised by the number of exciting translations on the horizon. Initially, I was concerned about finding enough confirmed releases to fill out a complete top 10 list, but the lineup I found proved to be incredibly promising, even if some entries might be running a bit on hopium. Now I'm eager to hear your thoughts on the list I've presented. Which visual novels are you most looking forward to in 2025? Are there any titles you think I've overlooked that deserve a spot on this list? Perhaps you have your own predictions or personal wish list for the upcoming year for visual novels. Feel free to share your opinions in the comments below.